Welcome to our mineral lab. There is a lot to do in this lab, so this will probably be divided into two videos. This is lab number 10. Here are the minerals that you're going to look at. Now, there are 24 minerals typically in our lab kits. I've only selected these 18 because I want to make it a little bit easier. And I'm reminding you on the right that for many of the activities I've only assigned one or two questions, so make sure you pay attention to what's been assigned. Remember, that's in Canvas under the syllabus where it says all due dates here, and you go to the laboratory tab and it tells you this information that I have right here. One of them that I'm going to change is I'm going to remove activity 8, so you can forget about that one. And then activity 9 is where we start to work with the actual minerals. The rest of them are looking at pictures. If you took a mineral kit home, which I hope many of you did, these are the 8 minerals that you have. So they are in here mixed in with the rest of the minerals. I have them listed in this picture chronologically, 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're not continuous. I go up to 9, then I jump to 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 24, 25. So we're not looking at every number between 1 and 25. These are your take-home minerals if you took them home. Make sure you have them out. When you watch the videos corresponding to any one of those, make sure you have the mineral in your hand. If you have a hand lens, you should be looking at it with a hand lens and see if you can see what I'm describing as I describe them in the videos. So where are these videos? Well, if you go to your module page, you will now see that at the very top, above projects and office hours, is a new module called Mineral and Rock Videos. Right now it has mineral videos there, and next week it will have rock videos. And this is the best we can do with our online situation. You're going to look at these videos. Each one describes each mineral for 1 to 2 minutes, and it gives you, I think, enough information to try to identify that mineral. So if you select Mineral Videos Lab 10, it brings you to a page with 18 videos, and again, they're 1 to 2 minutes each. They're in order, mineral 1, mineral 2, etc. And so this is what you're going to watch for the lab assignment to try to figure out what the unknown minerals are. Let's get to the actual lab. I'm using this green highlighter to again indicate what problems are assigned, and I'm jumping ahead. I haven't shown you the very first page or two, but you should definitely read that because it talks a lot about what a mineral is. And the very first question here that I'm blowing up is, in your words, list the 5 characteristics that make something a mineral. I guarantee you this will be on your exam. You have to know these 5 requirements for something to be a mineral. Question 2 then asks you to look at these items in this column and then answer, is it a mineral? Yes or no? And then an explanation. So if you hit yes, then you don't really need to put an explanation. It means it met all 5 of these requirements. But if you put no, I want you to tell me which requirement this particular object did not meet to be a mineral. On the next page, there are some pictures here, and they're asking you to identify which ones are rocks and which ones are minerals. Then there's another question here that asks you about color, and it wants to know, how diagnostic is color, considering that all 5 of these minerals, which are 5 different colors, are the same mineral. They're all a mineral called fluorite. Activity 2, then, I've kind of spread it over 2 pages here on the screen. The first question asks you to examine these 6 pictures and assign in the box a luster. I've talked about how minerals have a metallic or a non-metallic luster, but here they go further and they separate non-metallic lusters into glassy, dull, silky, or greasy. So you can try your best to match those up. Question number 2 then asks you to examine the mineral specimens that we're going to be looking at and group them into 2 groups, metallic and non-metallic. And usually I have students do this in class in teams. I don't really see any way to do this with you except to simply tell you the answer. So here are the 18 minerals. These up here are the non-metallic, and these down here are the metallic. There are 6 metallic minerals. So you can go ahead and pause and write those numbers in. And you will want this information about which is metallic and which is non-metallic for later on when we start to do the identification process. Activity 3 starts by asking you a similar question about the fluorite question. Explain why color is not very diagnostic. These are 4 different pieces of quartz, 4 different colors, but they're all SiO2, they're all quartz. Question 2 asks you to look at these 2 specimens of hematite, which is a mineral, and notice that their color is different, but their streaks seem to be somewhat similar. Question 3 asks you to select 3 samples from our collection and then answer this question. So I'd like you to answer this question by looking at the videos for sample 16, 24, and 25. And you're basically going to be looking at the color of the specimen and the streak of the specimen to see if they are the same or they're different. And then number 4 is another question about metallic luster. In activity 4, I've only assigned question 1, and that is to look at these 4 samples here and decide what kind of crystal shape or crystal habit they each have. So they give you more than 4 choices here, so you're not going to be using all of them. Try your best to determine which of each of these fits one of these descriptions. Activity 5, I've only assigned the first question, which has to do about hardness. Activity 6 begins on the next page, and it asks you about cleavage and fracture. Remember, cleavage is how a mineral breaks. If it breaks into flat pieces, that's called cleavage. This is the mineral muscovite, which is one of the micas and has a very good single direction of cleavage where it breaks off into sheets. We even say that these are books of mica. So you're going to describe that. Then you're going to go on, and it says look at figure 18, which is the next page. I just put it here. And figure out how many cleavage surfaces it has and how many directions of cleavage there are. Finally, the last question, again, asks you to refer to one of the minerals in your set. So I'd like you to go ahead and use sample 1 for this particular question here. So now we're getting to the main part of the lab now that you've warmed up and you've gotten accustomed to some properties. And you're going to be filling out these data sheets for the minerals that I have assigned. And again, there's 18 minerals. I haven't assigned all of them. So what I'd like you to do is number in order the sample number. So 1 through 9, then 11, 13, 14. And then on the next page, there's another copy of this. And these are the rest of the minerals you're going to look at. So what are we going to fill out in this chart? Well, luster, if you recall, is whether or not a mineral is metallic or non-metallic. And you can put M for metallic and M for non-metallic. And I just showed you a picture of which ones are non-metallic and metallic. So that's not even something that you have to do on your own. You just have to transfer that information. Next, the hardness. And the hardness typically is something that we look at in terms of 3 possibilities. Either it's softer than your fingernail, meaning your fingernail can scratch it, and that would be less than 2.5 on Mohs hardness scale. It might be harder than a quartz crystal, and I've tried to test all of the minerals in the videos against a quartz crystal, which has a hardness of 7. And so if something is harder than quartz, then you would put greater than 7. Or if it's in between those two, then you're going to put 2.5 to 7. And once you figure out what the mineral is, you can actually go back to the data tables at the end of your lab and find the actual value for the hardness. Color and streak are what they sound like. Color is the color of the mineral itself, and the streak is the color of the streak on a porcelain plate, which I show in all of the videos. Then we come to fracture versus cleavage. Remember that cleavage means the mineral breaks into flat planes, and sometimes it breaks into just one flat plane, sometimes it breaks into 2 or even 3. And so I know at this point in our studies this is pretty tricky to understand, but I try to point it out in the videos if there are flat surfaces that are representing cleavage faces. If there are no flat surfaces and the mineral is just kind of irregular everywhere, then we say fracture. So in this column, you're either going to put fracture or cleavage. Other properties is a column that you might not use for every mineral, but some of the unique properties that some minerals have include being magnetic, reacting to hydrochloric acid, a distinct taste or smell, high specific gravity. So these are things that are described in your lab manual. I kind of skipped some of the pages that don't have things that you need to fill in, but you should definitely look and make sure you're familiar with all of those. Then you'll give the name, and you'll also give an economic use, or you'll indicate that the mineral is rock forming. So what does that mean exactly? Well, on page 73 of your lab, there's a table of economic minerals. So these are many of the minerals in the lab, not all of them. Some of these we don't have. And then on this side, we have what industrial and commercial uses there are. So for example, graphite is a pencil lead, or not really lead, but we call it lead. And it's also a lubricant used in industry. So this is a good place to look for the economic uses of some minerals. Now, what does rock forming mean? Well, rock forming means that it's not in this list, but we happen to have it in this lab because it's very common in rocks. Really, that's why we're learning minerals. We're not learning minerals to learn gems. We're learning minerals so we can then identify them in rocks next week. So the key here are pages 68 to 70, and you're going to want to have these available during the final exam as well. What you're going to be doing is identifying minerals based on these three charts. And the first decision you have to make is it a metallic mineral? And we've kind of already done that. And if it's not, is it a dark colored non-metallic mineral or a light colored non-metallic mineral? And depending on which of those three choices you make, you follow the page from left to right to try to determine what the mineral is. So let's start by looking at one of the minerals in group 1. So I told you that mineral 15 is metallic. It doesn't look very metallic. It's one of these minerals that doesn't always show its metallic nature, but it is metallic. Here we are on this page, metallic minerals. Now, after we've determined it's metallic, the hardness is what they want us to determine next. Is it harder than glass, which has a hardness of 5.5, and I don't have a glass plate here, so I couldn't show you that in the videos, but I do try to mention it. Is it softer than your fingernail, or is it somewhere in between? So remember, quartz has a hardness of 7, so in some cases minerals are softer than quartz but harder than glass, in which case they would be up here. This particular mineral does not scratch glass, so you're going to move to this section. Now it asks you to look at streak. Remember that the streak is the color when you rub it on a ceramic plate. So here it is rubbed on a ceramic plate, and so this color is definitely not gray or black. I wouldn't call it pale yellow. It could be yellow, brown, or copper. If you're not sure, you want to read the descriptions of the minerals a little bit more. So what we're saying is this is either limonite or native copper. And it turns out that this is limonite, and we can tell because it's supposed to be a yellow brown to dark brown mineral. It's not tarnished brown or green. It's appearing in a round mass, and it has an earthy appearance. So this is limonite. So you're going to fill out your table when you get to number 17 with the information, and we'll pick up there in the next video.